How did you lose your sight?
When I was 3, I had severe pneumonia. A serious complication caused loss of sight. From that point on, I started gradually losing my vision, and by the age of 7, it was clear that I wasn't able to study at an ordinary school because I couldn't see the font of textbooks, I couldn't write.
I was 27 years old in 2014, and I fell from a height. I got serious craniocerebral injury, fracture of ribs, sternum, shoulder blades, and I got internal damage. A month later, I came out of a coma, and I realized that I couldn't see and that I was paralyzed.
I couldn't have kids because the doctors were sure that this would result in permanent loss of vision. Nevertheless, I gave birth to the first child quite safely, and my eyesight remained. When I decided to give birth to a second child, the consequences about which they warned me followed quickly. When the second child was 7 months old, I lost my sight completely. This happened when I was 30 years old, and from that moment, so for a long time already, I can't see.
I was born with glaucoma. I could see very badly, but I still could. That was until I turned 7. When I was 7 years old, I went to an ordinary school, but every day my vision was getting worse and worse. I finally said that I couldn't see anything when I couldn't read anymore. My eyes hurt and they were constantly watering. I was born blind, but I had 6 operations on my eyes when I was 1 year old. I began to see with one eye. Until 2009, I could see a little, but only with one eye. Then glaucoma affected my sight, and as a result, I lost my vision again. I was taken to the hospital. Doctors were trying to save my eyesight for a week, but didn't manage to do it. The blood pressure got very high, the vessels couldn't handle it, and I had a hemorrhage. What can you see now?
It's not complete darkness. Sometimes I feel like I can see. For example, I wake up and I know what the weather is like, sunny or cloudy, because it seems to me that the stream of light that goes through the window is brighter during the day and darker in the evening. Although maybe it's only my imagination or a strong desire to see. Maybe it's just my memory, because even after I lost my sight completely, I still see dreams the same way as I did in the past when I had vision.
I don't see anything at all, but some information still reaches my brain through the eyes. For example, I have a lot of colorful spots floating before my eyes, but these spots are the only thing I'm able to see. The diagnosis says that my eyes are fine, but I have brain damage that causes the loss of sight. This is called cortical blindness, or partial atrophy of the optical nerve. I can see silhouettes, I can see the light, I see a person's face as a skin-colored spot. I can tell the difference between day and night. If I hold something very, very close to my eyes, for example a finger, I can see a shadow, but that's all, nothing more. What was the most difficult thing to learn after vision loss?
I was gradually losing my vision from 3 until 7 years old. This is a fairly long period of time, and a child overcomes all this in a completely different way, not like adults. There were no difficulties then. There were many more problems when I lost my sight at the age of 30. Everything had to be done by touch: cooking, sewing, cleaning the flat, taking care of the child.
I had a problem with orientation in space. I flew constantly, bumped into something, no biggie, went on, but still have a fear of crashing into something, a fear of some kind of obstruction. With time, I have learned to do everything myself. Now I cut my own hair with a hair clipper, I cook for myself, I clean my room. Generally speaking, I'm not limited in anything. The only problem I had was with cooking. At first I couldn't cook at all. I found it very complicated and there were a lot of small nuances. I didn't know how to do it. I knew the sequence of actions, I could determine if the water was boiling by ear, but the rest was rather difficult. For me, it was difficult to make tea at first. I used to do it in a dangerous way. I just poured the boiling water into a cup and controlled the water level with my fingers so that I wouldn't overfill the cup. And recently we bought a device that is hung on a cup and it has an iron antenna. And when a hot or cold liquid comes into contact with the antenna, a sound signal is given.
I cannot determine the readiness of the cake by touch. I need to see its crust color, for example, so I have to call someone to help me.
When it comes to cooking, I still can't cook meat. I also can't do the laundry on my own because I don't see the colors of clothes. So I'm afraid I'll put different colored things in the washing machine, wash them all together, and spoil them.
We have changed the stove recently, and the new one has touch-sensitive control. And now there is difficulty with its touch-activated buttons. I can't feel them. But I have already found a solution. There are sticky labels that I can put on the buttons, and I will be able to feel them with my fingers.
About a year and a half ago, I learned to use a smartphone. There is a special program for the blind. It's called TalkBack. It allows blind people to communicate with other people on different social networks. I regularly use social networks, Instagram. I communicate with people and post photos, because for me it's not a problem and I enjoy it. The photos aren't extremely cool, but I can photograph myself. I try to locate the camera's position in space and then take pictures of myself at a certain angle.
I put on makeup by touch quite successfully. I don't smear it, I don't do anything unnecessary. It's mostly muscle memory and some tactile sensations. My imagination is very well developed. I understand very clearly how to combine colors. It's enough for me to know the color of the thing, and I can find a bunch of options on how to combine it with other elements of my wardrobe.
A little while ago, I entered the College of Music, a guitar course. It's entirely possible to play the guitar without seeing the frets. It's all thanks to muscle memory. Has your circle of contacts changed after vision loss?
Nobody turned their backs on me. I've not lost any of my friends with the change in physical condition. Just the opposite. I was graduating from university at the time, and the support was tremendous. I didn't even expect that people would accept the situation so warmly and reverently.
Right now, I only have a few friends. They help me, we communicate. They're always ready to help anytime. There used to be more friends in my life, but they gradually turned their backs on me. I used to have one circle of contacts. After I lost my sight, another circle of contacts appeared, and they were absolutely different. I changed school, people were different there. There was a period of time when I was distancing from others. Several peers wanted to communicate with me, but I refused. I had such a moment of rejection. I had a girlfriend. Before the injury, we were friends. After the injury, we lived together for 3 years. A year and a half ago, we broke up. I think my physical condition was the main reason for our separation. Is it true that other sensory organs get activated after vision loss? My hearing got much better after I lost my vision. Once the otolaryngologist was examining me with a special device, which is going left and right with rings, gradually lowering the volume of the signal. I heard even the quietest sound, and even the doctor couldn't hear it. I can tell that my hearing has become much sharper. For example, when I'm outside with somebody, I can hear the sound of an approaching car before the person I'm with can see it.
Hearing, skin texture, sense of smell, everything is enhanced. Intuition becomes more powerful. For example, I can describe a person without seeing him or her, just by their voice, intonation, and way of speaking.
In my opinion, it is a myth that people who can't see feel better and hear better. They have the same senses as everyone. They're just more attentive to the information that comes through touch, hearing, and smell, because they have to rely on other senses after vision loss. So they are more attentive, and that's all. Is Minsk adapted for blind people? The city center and the large streets are adapted. Everything there is done perfectly. But as for the area where I live, there is no barrier-free environment. There are high footpath edgings, and sidewalks have large pits. Also, some people park their cars partly on the sidewalks, and they often get in my way when I walk on the streets. When I go outside, I have to have somebody with me. I can't go far on my own, because I can't see the road and obstructions in front of me. Minsk has been adapted recently because of European games that were held here. Before, the city was less adapted.
I think the situation is radically changing for the better. There are a huge number of places that are equipped with all kinds of special devices. It's a barrier-free environment, but there is still something to strive for. I travel a lot, and I see countries in which everything is equipped much better for people with disabilities, not only in central cities, but also on the periphery. We need to aim for that too.
The new houses that are being built now have a barrier-free environment. There are low footpath edgings and ramps. As for the old buildings, the situation with special equipment is very deplorable there. The subway is well adapted, though not all metro stations have elevators. There are special tracks, but they are poorly made. They are right next to the road, so it's quite dangerous. Traffic lights aren't loud enough, but you can get used to it. It's not good enough, but at least they try to do something. When I walk around the city on my own, I always take a cane with me, and if I don't know the way, I turn on the navigator on my phone. A cane plus a navigator, this is such a great, powerful tandem. They guide me through the streets and help me to not get lost.
Unfortunately, I rarely go out alone. I always go to work or some other places with someone. If the situation forced me, then of course I would use a cane. But I have an inferiority complex about the fact that how can I, as if some kind of star, use a cane and draw people's attention to myself?
What would you want to see? I would like to see my mom's face again, because I've already started to slowly forget how she looks. I would like to see the face of my girlfriend. To be honest, I wouldn't like to see anything.
I don't remember the faces of my children. I barely remember the oldest one. I remember the middle one very fragmentarily, because he was only 7 months old when I lost my sight. And I imagine the face of the youngest child only by description. So what I really would like to see is my boys, and how they look like now.